All right, welcome everybody. This is going to be the weekly live chat room recap for this week ending on August 27th of 2021, and I'm going to be talking about something that's really important. I think it's important to stay until the end of this video because we're going to be talking about the secret to using indicators that professional traders don't want you to know. And this is after speaking with many full-time traders like myself. And they all basically tell me the same thing, so please stay tuned. I think this is going to enlighten you, particularly if you are a user of indicators. I think you're going to find this quite interesting. So that being said, let's move on. Let's first look at our stats for the week. Let's see how the PAP did. And then we'll look at our CB trades, and then we'll get into talking about the secret to what professional traders don't want you to know about these indicators. All right, so here we are. Here are going to be the stats for this last week in the live chat room. Once again, these are what we call naked stats. Naked stats meaning that we're not using any kind of filtration. We have a total of 5 different patterns. This is just one of them. We call it PAP. PAP is one of our most popular patterns. Though we do have 4 other patterns that we trade. They're all pretty much hit at the same accuracy, typically somewhere in the 70s to 80 percentile on a daily basis. And we are not using any kind of filtration. So that means if we do have a setup buy or short, that means if you were to take it without considering any of the other filters that we use in a trade, these are kind of the results you would achieve. Now, the beauty of that is we're going to put the odds in your favor right out of the gate. All right. So even if you are a novice trader, then we can certainly help put the odds in your favor. All right. And that's going to help you quite a bit if you are trading binaries. Actually, if you're trading anything, because these patterns do work across the board in stocks, commodities, obviously in the forex, which is what we trade. We trade a lot of forex. All right. So nonetheless, let's look at these stats. Now, what I've done here is if you look, we break it down on a daily basis, how they did for that particular day. We also, if you've been getting our YouTube videos, we also do what we call first trade of the day. I start my day around 8 a.m. every morning. I am Central, and I end it at 3. So, and then I come back and I trade again, and I trade in the live chat room. Chat room is also open during these hours, so I trade from 7 to 9 Central Time, which is 8 to 10 Eastern, and we trade for another 2 hours because I love night trading. So I'm trading in the morning, trading in the evening. Chat room is open probably longer than any other chat room out there that I'm aware of. But we are traders, folks, okay? We're not just here to sell you programs. We are traders, and I am here to teach you how to become a successful trader. So I've been doing this for 40 years, and I do enjoy teaching, so I've decided to start teaching others how to do it themselves, and it's a very rewarding business. But like any other business, if you want to be successful, you have to put time and effort into it, all right? You're not going to be able to buy my program or anybody's program and be successful. It's just like if you want to open up a restaurant, you can't just open up the doors and expect people to go into your restaurant. You're going to have to work it. Advertising, word of mouth, got to go out there and put a little effort into it, right? Put some effort into it, a lot of effort into it in the beginning to get your business up and running. And it's the same thing with trading. You got to put time into it, and for that, we call that screen time, watching the screen, getting familiar with the action of the market. Every single one of these pairs, just like if you're looking at gold or silver or crude oil or a stock, they all have their own little unique personality, and that's how you become a successful trader, is understanding what those personalities are for each one, in this case, each one of the currency pairs. So these are the 4 main pairs that we're looking at when we're trading the PAP or any of the core strategies or core patterns. And you can see here that if you look at it on a weekly basis, you can see that The percentages in the morning, the percentages in the evening are pretty close together. But my favorites are, if you look at this, I'm trading the yen. And this last week I was trading the euro. All right. And I'm going to continue to trade the yen and the euro as we go into this next week. All right. Because typically what happens is when I see these strong percentages down here, typically a market that's hot like this is going to stay that way based on the patterns that I trade. Because what it is that these patterns are designed to be in line with its normal movement. Okay, what I would normally expect the yen to be, their US yen. And so when the US yen is acting normally, I'm going to see these higher stats. When for some reason the yen gets out of that particular pattern, my stats are going to come down, and I'm going to notice that, and I'm going to move over to another pair or pairs that are showing the higher stats. And the beauty of that is once they move in, they usually stay there for several months. All right. And when they move out, they usually move out for several months. So it's not like they're in and out, in and out. Typically, you're going to find that a particular pair, once it's hot, like the yen, the yen's been hot for a long time now. There was a time when I didn't trade a lot of the yen because it was not doing as well as I would expect. It was acting more like the pound, and so I moved over just trading the euro and the Aussie. Now I'm back using the yen, and I have been for several months now, and I've moved over to the euro recently. I was trading the Aussie, so now I'm trading the euro. Either one of these two is very good, but that's my favorite. I don't like to trade more than two, so I do focus a lot more of my efforts on the US yen and the euro US, but you wouldn't know that unless you put the effort into keeping track of these naked stats. Okay, and the naked stats give me indication of the market I want to be in or the pair I want to be in. And then I don't just trade off of naked stats. There's only one trade, which is the first trade of the day, which is taking advantage of the naked stats. And you can see they're still very, very good. But if you use additional filtration, which I do on all my other trades, we can certainly not only increase our probabilities, but many times we can also increase the amount of premium that we're getting. And that's real important as well if you're trading binaries. All right. So first trade of the day, we had 3 out of 5. So that's why we see a 60% there in the morning. And at night, we have 80%. Now, what's interesting about this one day, I believe was on Wednesday, we actually had three all came in at the same time for a trade. And as Murphy's Law would dictate, of course, I took the loser. I had other people in the chat room decided to take the winners. And so you don't know sometimes. That's the way it is. Sometimes you may have 2 or 3 all giving a trade at the same time. Sometimes you just take the wrong one. That's the way it is. But sometimes you're in the right one and you're missing the wrong one. We're looking at these stats over a long period of time. When you're trading probabilities, right, we're not looking at probabilities over a week or two. We're looking at probabilities over a long period of time because we trade, right? We're here to trade over a long period of time. I'm not looking to make a living in a week and then quit for the next year. All right. I'm here on a daily basis, and that's when the probabilities really shine, when we're trading, and we're trading based off our probabilities, because this game is nothing but a game of probabilities, and nothing gives you a better advantage than using these kind of patterns. All right. So nonetheless, not bad on the first trade of the day. As far as the stats were concerned, pretty much where I would expect them to be. Obviously, the 80 percentile, 86 is kind of what I've been hitting on the end. So, that's pretty good considering that I'm not filtering anything out. On my CB trades, once again, CB trades are really my advanced class. I teach you how to trade deep out of the money. Remember, we talked about there's 4 different dimensions of trading. I'll teach you the first 4 in the core. And then when you're ready and you've mastered core, then you're ready for CB, but that's going to be through invitation, and that's the way. I'm not going to provide CB to anybody unless you've proven that 2 things. Number 1, you can be successful trading core, and 2, you're dedicated to trading, because I am looking for dedicated traders. We do a lot of CB trading with my CB traders, and that's in some of our private breakout rooms, as well as we have special hours for CB, and looking for dedicated traders. We're looking for people who really want to do this full time. You can do quite well with core. You can hit a daily objective with core. But when we get to CB, now we're looking at being able to do numbers, because we're looking at going deep out of the money and really hitting some home runs out there. Okay, that is my main income, is going to be on CB, and I also am trading core, so I trade a combination of core and CB. All right, that's how I'm able to hit these daily goals every day, because I have so many opportunities. And with CB, if I get in a little bit of trouble with core, I know I can always go deep out of the money and hit a few really hard ones, and then I'm back up again. So the combination of two of them is where you need to be if you want to do this full time and be a professional. And you can do that if you have the dedication to do it. All right, we're not looking for hobbyists. All right, you've heard me say we have two types of traders. We have the professional, we have the hobbyists. The hobbyists are the people that go out and they buy their programs, and they're like they're system junkies. We call them system junkies because they buy a system, they look at it for about a week, and then they put it on the shelf, and then they'll often buy the next system because they're looking for the holy grail. All right, it doesn't exist, folks. It never will exist, and if it did exist, it would stop existing, because everybody would discover it and everybody would trade it, and then you would never have anybody taking the other side of the trade. So don't expect perfection in this business, just like you can't have perfection. There's nothing in life that's going to provide you perfection. It's so funny. Traders are always expecting every trade to be a winner. But what in life, where do you win every single time in life? It doesn't exist, all right? So losing or taking losses is part of the game. We want to think of it more of as expenses and income. So when you're making money, it's income. When you're losing, it's an expense. This is a business. You have to look at trading differently. You have to look at your losses differently. If you can't get over losses, you can't be a trader. And most people can't get over losses. And so therefore what they do is they give up on whatever they're trading as soon as they have one or two losses in a row. And they're no longer trading the probabilities, and they end up blowing themselves out. So if you're one of those that can't take it, you're best to give your money to somebody that is a professional trader and knows how to control his emotions and knows how to play the game long term. Okay, so I'm just being straightforward with you guys. No sense buying my program or any program out there if you're not willing to take losses. And I don't care if people tell you there's 100% system is 100%. They're lying to you. It doesn't exist, number one. And number two, if you're expecting that, then this is not where you want to be. All right. Because nothing's going to give you 100% accuracy. I don't care how good you are. Every trader out there is going to have losses. I don't care if you've been trading for 40 years like myself, or if you're trading for 20 years, it doesn't matter. You're going to have losses. That's reality. All right? Part of the game. So, what is the secret to using indicators that the professionals don't want you to know about? Okay, so let's talk about it. And I'm going to show you exactly what that is. So let's take a look at that. And let's see what is going on with these indicators. All right, so here we are. And let's talk about what is the secret to using indicators professional traders don't want you to know. I'll tell you what the secret is, and it's pretty simple. And you've heard me talk about this many, many times before in all my videos, is professional traders don't use indicators. All right, the people that are professional traders that do this for a living have already figured out that indicators do not work. So why are they not pushed? Why are more traders, or the good traders, not talking about it? Because you know what? They know exactly what you're doing. They know what the most popular moving averages are. They know what the most popular Bollinger Band settings are. They know what the MACD settings are. All three of these I have up on the chart. They know what 98% of the people are looking at. You think that they don't use that to their advantage? Of course they do. They are watching it, all right? So when they are trading, okay, as a professional trader, most of them are either using straight out, using patterns like I do, I'm not sure they're using the same patterns, but I know a lot of them look at market action, okay? They're looking at pure market action. They're not looking at indicators. But whenever they're looking at market action and they're getting ready to take a trade, they're going to look at these indicators because they want to see what the public's going to end up doing, all right? Why? Because they're going to take advantage of it and they're going to do the opposite of it. I mean, look at things, look at it in a very logical sense, all right? 98% of the people out there lose money, and I promise you 98% of the people are using indicators. Shouldn't that tell you something? Go out to YouTube, look at all the videos out there of all these so-called great traders that have all these programs and these systems and these methods, makes them 100%, or they show they made a ton of money in one day. You know, you don't see consistency in any of them. But they're all indicator based, all right? They're indicator based. And I can almost promise you none of them are making money. You can look at this. I mean, let me ask you a question. This is a chart. I have 3 indicators up here. I mean, do you really want to trade looking at this kind of nonsense? I mean, what does this tell you? Okay, I have an analogy, all right? And my analogy is, it's just like having a car, all right? And one of your spark plugs go out, okay? So now instead of the 6-cylinder, you're now running on 5 cylinders, all right? So what do? Do you go out and you put in another dead spark plug? Think of that, okay, well, one's out. I'm going to put another dead one in there, and maybe to start running better. Well, that's what people do when they're trading indicators, because you see, if an indicator is any good, it should be profitable on its own. You shouldn't have to have 2 or 3 or 4 different indicators. Each one of the indicators should stand on its own. So if you're looking at a moving average, should be standing on its own. If you're looking at a Bollinger Band, you should be able to trade it and stand on its own. Each one of these indicators should be profitable, okay? But when people are trading and they're looking at one indicator, and that one indicator doesn't work, what do? They throw in another indicator that doesn't work. It's like adding dead spark plugs to a good running car, all right? It doesn't make any sense. But people can't figure this out, and it's just, that's why professional traders love it, because they want to see you, okay, using indicators, because most of you are using it, and I say most of you, maybe not all of you, all right, but the majority of you, particularly if you're new at this. Hey, we've all been there. I did it myself until I finally figured it out. But the thing is that they know what the most common settings are for moving averages, to Bollinger Bands, to MACDs, to stochastics. They look at divergence. They watch head and shoulders. They watch the support and resistance. They're watching all that. They have a pretty good idea of what you're going to do, and they take advantage of you using all these crazy indicators, all right? And if you're not making any money using indicators, don't you think there may be a better way? All right, so this is what a chart looks like on indicators. Let me show you what my chart looks like so you can see the difference between what I'm looking at and what the majority of traders are looking at. Okay, so here we go. So basically, what I've done here is I put on some arrows here so you can kind of see the patterns that I look at. You don't need these arrows to trade. You will be able to identify the patterns that I teach. All right, but I just wanted to show you the simplicity of what I do. I don't have a bunch of indicators or whatever. What I'm using is I'm using a combination of what I call behavioral patterns. And in this chart, I have 2 or 3 different patterns all interlaced here. But basically, it's very, very simple. I'm trading in 5 minutes. I'm trading 5-minute binaries. I look at a trade, and if it points down, okay, I know that I want to be a seller on the next bar. Some are telling me to buy on a specific bar or sell on a specific bar. This was a buy here. This was a short here. This was a buy here. This was a buy here. This was a short here. And the thing is that it's very clear cut. I don't have to decide what I'm going to do. I know exactly what direction I'm going to be trading in. Okay, I have one very simple direction. When the pattern shows up, I'm either going to buy it or I'm going to sell it. Would you not rather trade like this than have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different indicators on your charts? I mean, I would, all right? And so are the professionals, all right? I promise you, people that are doing this long term, that have been trading long term, okay, going back 100 years, you can go back to the 1920s, okay, they didn't have charts. All they had were price. They were looking at price action, right? Or they were looking at the ticker, but they were still getting a feel for the action, all right? That is where you become successful, is you look at very specific setups, very specific patterns, you understand the price action, and once you know that, all right, you've got everything you need to be a successful trader. But it takes screen time, which is absolutely the most important. But you also have to be able to give yourself an edge probability. You have to have that probability edge. Everything's about probability, all right? So I know I can start you off 70% and higher in terms of probability. The rest is up to you to make it work. Just because something has a high probability, and I've talked about this. If you haven't seen this in my prior videos, go back to YouTube. But I talked about just because something has a high probability doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at it, all right? There's a lot of factors involved, and just because something has a low probability doesn't mean that you won't be successful. My most successful day, and I've mentioned this many times in some of my videos, but for those that are new, my most successful day, which was a huge day, I was only 47% right. Why? Because I know how to manage my risk, and I also know when to load up and when to lighten up on my position size based on the strength or weakness, all right, of my patterns. And that is the key. So what is the secret? Obviously, the secret is they want you to keep using your indicators because they want to know exactly what you're going to do. And I promise you, 9 out of 10 times you're going to be taking the opposite position. That's why everybody keeps losing. And that's why the 2% of traders keep winning, because they do not follow the crowd, all right? Most successful traders are going to be contrarian, all right? So, once again, that's a real important lesson. If everybody's doing it, you probably don't want to be doing it. You want to be doing the opposite. If you think of it that way, if you did nothing else but fade your indicators, you would probably start making money. But that being said, that's the big secret. For some of you that had been there and done that and realized that indicators don't work, you know that watching price action is the key to being successful. But there are a total of 5 different dimensions that you have to understand. All right. Patterns represent several of those dimensions. There's actually a total of 5 different dimensions that they're all pattern based. But when you stack them on top of each other, every single one of those patterns or those dimensions are profitable on their own. But when you stack them on top of each other, you get a more holistic idea of where the overall action is getting ready to go. So a lot of this that you see in here, we can filter that out by looking at what the overall holistic approach says that's going to move this market one way or another, all right? And so when we have a pattern that's set up, right, on one dimension, if I have all 5 dimensions telling me that the market's going to go up or that it's going to go down, that gives me a really strong edge in putting on a profitable trade, all right? And also it gives me an indication of the size of the move. And I don't know of anybody else, okay, there may be some traders out there that do it, but there are some very specific setups and very specific patterns that do indicate whether the market's going to have a big, quick thrust up or a big, quick thrust down. And as you know, when you're trading, whether you're trading binaries, you're trading stocks, or whatever you're trading, all right, that's where we make money, okay? That's where day traders make money, on those big moves, all right? But that's something that I teach in the CB course. You learn the first 4 dimensions in core, and then once you master core, and you can show that you can make money in core, then you're ready to go to CB and learn about the fifth dimension, which is probably the most powerful of all the dimensions. So that is going to be it. We will be back again next week for our next weekly recap. For this week, I'm going to continue to focus on the yen and the euro. All right, that's going to be my focus. We do have a holiday coming up next week, so usually the week before tends to have a lot of very quick volatility, usually in the beginning of the week, and then it begins to fade. So be looking forward to some really nice days. See if I can't take advantage of it and push it a little bit harder this week. And besides that, if you have any questions, just go to my website, binaryprostrategies.com. Shoot me an email. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know you like them. And please subscribe. I'll keep you updated on any new videos that are coming out. And I have a brand new webinar that we're working on that's going to be coming out. I'm going to be going more into details on these dimensions. So if you're interested, make sure you're on my mailing list. And once everything is all wrapped up, then we'll get that out. We'll get the invitations out. And I think it's going to be something most people are going to enjoy. And I promise you, you've never heard of this before. This is something I've kept secret for over 40 years. Now, about 40 years. And I'm releasing it now. Why? Because I've made my money and I'm getting close to retirement. So it's time that I start teaching and helping other people learn to finally become successful in trading. And I'll teach you not only what does work, but I will show you why it works, why it's going to continue to work, which is most important. But I'm also going to show you a lot of the stuff you've been taught does not work. Okay, it's not true. All right, and I'll get more into that at some other time. Some of it I've touched on prior videos, but if you watch all my videos, I've touched on a lot of the things that you hear a lot of that it's just not true. So that being said, that's it. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you next weekend on our next weekly recap. Take care.